Good evening, everyone. Looks like a lot of folks have already gathered here um, in anticipation. Uh, can everybody hear me? Is the mic coming through? I like to check that now since a lot of times uh, I find out 10 minutes in that the sound is awful. Hey, Mario, Judy, Derek, Matt. Thanks, Sandy. Cool's Paranormal is here. Roland, good to see you. Um, man, uh, what a what an eventful time. Um, lot going on with this. Uh, so I thought, you know, we were gonna postpone a live and try to come at you maybe in a pop up this Wednesday, perhaps, or maybe just hold off till next Sunday. But you know, this is all folks are going to be talking about for a while, and my goal here, sorry, I'm a little distracted trying to get some notes in order. My goal here is to clear the air and kind of take a breather and hit the reset button so we can kind of move on with other things, uh, covering other projects and aspects of history and get back to what we do because we're not going to solve this thing this week. This is something that's going to be ongoing. Hey, Doss. Thanks, man. Good to see you here. Uh, Try to field the chats for me because I'm sure it's going to be busy. DB, thank you so much, man. Um, that's funny. Uh, Misty, good to see you. Um, I just want to tell you guys a little about this photo, how I got involved in it, why it came out, and you know the circumstances surrounding all that. It's just me tonight, no other guests. Um, So it's going to be very informal. I'll take any questions you guys have and answer them to the best of my ability. A lot of this stuff is still going on behind the scenes, and I don't want to give away too much. And I'm going to talk slow and deliberately to try and make sure that I respect folks involved's privacy and not say something I shouldn't and be respectful of all that. The photo and the envelope and how I got involved with it. Um, yeah, DB, pretend Josh and Jeremiah are here with us. They are uh, just as involved and just as aware of everything I'm aware of, and I'm sure that they will have a lot to input as well. Um, you guys are all funny. So I was shown this photo and the envelope a year ago, uh, this month actually, in August. I was in Lincoln and I was shown this photo in Lincoln. I have not seen the photo and envelope in person. I've only seen the same photographs you've seen. It belongs to a private collector, and they, were not present and did not have the items. I've seen the same photos that you have seen. Um, but it struck me the same way that I've seen it strike many of you. And one thing about this image coming public is to see the overwhelming difference that it has and the overwhelming response it gets from folks and how that has differed from the usual photos that pop up. And I've got one quote here, if I can find it, that really I thought was really cool. One Facebook commenter said, "I don't know why, but when I look at this picture, I get the feeling that it's him. I've seen many other pictures in the past, and I never had that feeling." Um, and that's kind of, there was always this thought in my head too, that we see so many photographs. We see, I mean, hundreds to thousands probably throughout the years. Someone's always posting something up in a Facebook group. And I always kind of felt that if there were an authentic photo that came through, it would just kind of be like this aha moment that you would just see it and you would go, yeah, that's him, obviously. Yes. And you would just know. So that's an experience that I had too when I first saw it. And uh, obviously that's not grounds for authenticity. That's not a reason to put it forth as an authentic photo. Um, I have seen folks in the comment sections on these platforms say just as certainly it's not him. They look at him and go, 100% no, it looks nothing like him. So obviously people feel differently about it. And this is just a matter of opinion. But in my, in my experience, the feedback that I've seen from folks has overwhelmingly mirrored my experience in this instance than a typical photo coming out does. I mean, to me, it's kind of magical whenever I look at it. And I've had the same experience. I've seen some commenters say, like, I just keep rewatching, I just keep looking at it again and again. And I did that too. And I do that too. I just keep going back to it. And I'll get in my head and I'll start thinking there's just no way. And then I'll go look at it and be like, oh man, that's him for some reason. And so that experience was pretty heavy. And when I first saw it in Lincoln, I had that experience. And so I knew instantly that this was something I wanted to look into. Um, it was something worth looking into. So there was a team of about 4 or 5 of us who were aware of the photo and envelope and were actually actively working on it. And there may have been other folks aware of it at the same time and doing investigations on it. This was just the people that I was aware that were aware of it. And we got to work on it. It was largely something us in the coalition would bounce back and forth with each other and do amid other projects. And we would I would spend a lot of time researching Silver City and researching timelines and photographers and things like that, and also contacting people who could vet it or trying to contact people who could vet it. And we were under strict orders not to go public with this. It was the owner's wish that this not go public until we have done some good research on it, and that, it not enter the fray of speculation and hype and insanity. And we all know how crazy this stuff gets. And it just, at no time did anyone involved want this to become just another contested Billy photo. Um, even the croquet photo, as much as folks like to say it's authenticated in press headlines and things, it's not. And we wanted to do all the work we could do to present this to the public as a coherent whole, and whether it was fabricated or authentic, we wanted to have our findings behind it and our reasons for thinking what we did. So we moved forward with that, and it was shared. The 4 or 5 of us involved, and that's me and Josh and Doss and Amy Goche has helped us out a lot. Amy, Ellis House Amy, she actually went to Silver City and did a lot of digging through the Grant County clerk records and things. It was shared with others at various times. It was kind of implied that we were able to share it, as needed with folks who could help us in the investigation. Obviously, if you're talking about something and trying to vet it, and you're going to have to show it to some folks. But anyone who saw it, as far as my knowledge on our end, were only shown after securing their agreement and their promise not to share this publicly. That was the whole idea. This is a project that we're working on to vet because we all feel strongly about its possibility, but we also know how these things go. And we also know that it is not yet authenticated. So we wanted to do our due diligence and be responsible about it. So, I mean, this we have been doing this for a year, just about, maybe a little over a year. Um, Initially, I mean, I thought it was so cool that early on, I had a conversation with the owner and I asked them, you know, I think it would be cool if we went public with this and pulled resources, because if you go public with it, you have an audience of thousands of people who can say, "Hey, I know this handwriting expert," or "I know this document examiner," or, "I've got this envelope that's just like that one in a private collection." So my goal with that was we could possibly open up our resource pool. But at that time, the owner still was not quite comfortable with that idea, and I dropped it. And so we've been working on it in private for about a year. Well, last Sunday or Monday, um, I get up in the morning and I log on and I check Facebook like you do, and um, the first thing I see on Facebook in the news feed is a picture of this envelope, and I was floored. And um, I mean, it just felt like something had been taken from me, in the sense that we have all spent our time and resources on trying to vet this thing and making sure that we don't make a public spectacle out of it. And then the first thing I see when I wake up one day is this envelope on a news feed, and somebody asking, like, can somebody help us determine what's written on it? And it's like, I know what's written on it. We all know what's written on it. We've been working on it. And I just had a lot of emotions. And so I discussed it with my coalition fellas, and I was like, how did this leak happen? Who could have shared it with this guy? And the guy who shared it, in my opinion, makes horrible artificial intelligence videos, calls them documentaries. It's full of misinformation, and it's just terrible history. And the idea of him having something with this much potential was just shockingly terrifying to me. Um, so I messaged the person that put us all in charge of this, and I asked them, did you share it with them? And they said yes. We gave them, we showed this guy the envelope with the writing on it to clear up a matter about aliases that Billy the Kid used. Well, my initial thought is, well, okay, you do what you want. It's not my picture, but it makes me a little uncomfortable that this guy has this information. And to clear up alias issues for Billy the Kid, you can do that with about any history book without, sending an image of material that's semi-classified that nobody's broadcasting it publicly. And obviously how much of an agreement to not share was secured when this stuff's showing up right on Facebook. So that was that. The thing that was conveyed to me was that this gentleman was only showed this, one sliver of the envelope image, and that uh that's it. And so, okay, crisis may be averted. I'm kind of sitting with that. And then later on, we speak to the gentleman, and it turns out he knows about the picture too, and he knows about all of it. And to the extent that he's saying that Billy is a good looking guy, whether he was told that or saw that or what. So, like, he obviously knows more than what was just needed to convey about an alias issue with the envelope. So I know I'm getting in the weeds here, but I'm just saying my trust in the initial provider of the image was kind of betrayed at that point. because it was conveyed to me that it was just this little bit that was shown, and then by the time we were able to speak with that gentleman, he knew about everything. And so it seemed best to us and to me, and I still stand by this. Yeah, Doss is right. I mean, Doss says, guys, this whole process was crazy. We're so furious, and I just, I'm still kind of furious, and um, it was messed up, and I did the best I could do in that moment, and I still haven't had time to retrospect and to maybe analyze other things I could have done. But my thought process was, we have worked so much on this, and this is such, there's so much potential here to go either way. Whether we authenticate it or whether we prove it to be a forgery, there is so much potential here. And it was just given into the hands of someone that I didn't trust to have custodianship over it. And it wasn't about, since it's been released, I have been accused of um, doing it for the glory or claiming credit for the find. I was accused of doing it to boost my popularity on YouTube. I was accused of releasing the picture because I was worried that the other person was going to beat me to the internet. And in a sense, that's true. In a sense, I was worried he was going to beat me to the internet, but not because of fame or notoriety. I was worried it was going to be peddled as something it was not, and that from that moment on, we were going to have to take a reactionary approach. Every time someone shared it, every time it got out there, we would have to jump up in a comment and say, hold on, it's not like this. And we were going to just immediately from then on be a cleanup crew for this situation. And but it is what it is. I think the other folks involved will always say that I did it to get, more popular or whatever. And that's a shame. Uh, it still bugs me. I've been accused of lying, and I was told that I had the attitude of a pouty little bitch, and so I mean, I don't think the person or the people involved who have these perceptions of why I did it will ever change their opinion of me. So that's done, um, and that's not going to be fixed, and that's okay. It's just all part of the unfortunate circumstances around which I felt it was best we had to do this. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I think I've gone into it enough without getting into too many details of surrounding why. I will say that before I went public with it, I called the owner and I spoke with them and I said, look, here's what's happened. Here's why I feel uncomfortable. And that if we have to make a video, I will respect your privacy. And they said, I appreciate that. And there was no deceitfulness on my part when it came to speaking with the owner and going forward with this. I didn't go around them or do it against their knowledge. And I still stand by the fact, and I've told the owner that if they ever want me off this case, just say so, and I'll gladly step away. So I'm not trying to garner views or get a boost in likes for this. And anyone who thinks this is how I wanted to introduce a picture like this is just out of their freaking minds. Because why would I want to debut a photo um, this shoddily, with a 7-minute video on a Sunday or Monday afternoon with no, I mean, wouldn't I do some advertisement or pumping it up? I'd hype it for a few weeks. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like I'd go about it different if I wanted some fame and glory. And yeah, honeybee, thank you. I did the best I could um, with my moral compass. I felt like my trust was betrayed in the person who disclosed what and why they shared it, and I just had to do the best I could to protect the whole project and everybody's work in it and all of that. That being said, I haven't read a lot of the chat. I've gone on for half an hour just talking about the circumstances that threw me onto this project and how we ended up here. my goal is that after we do this live, we we move on and focus on other stuff and just keep the ball going historically. And we'll keep you all posted with any cool finds we do on this. Um, so uh, if anybody's got a question they want to ask about this, it's chances are I've missed it. So if you want to re-ask it, um, that would be cool. Hey, Doss, the Frank Abrams photo, I believe, is the one that Jim Brake worked on with the 4 or 5 guys, and it's got Pat Garrett. They're all sitting down, and Billy's supposedly in the background holding up a bottle. And I think they found it in, I don't know, North Carolina or something. I could be wrong about that, but Jim Brake said he found little writing in it and stuff, and uh, that's the Abrams photo. So, Sue, thank you very much. Matt, I will get with the owner and we'll see what we can do about sending it to you to keep it safe. Um, I do think it's when I look at him, I have that experience of it being Billy. So that's a cool experience for me to have, and it's enough to keep me in the game. So thanks, Declan. I appreciate that. This has definitely taken a lot out of me. For real, I've alienated and a friendship and a relationship that was important to me is pretty much done. On my part, I don't want anything to do with that person anymore, and it sucks. But nothing about this has gone ideally. And for folks, for the people involved to think that I did this at the expense of that, or to uh, somehow escalate my fame in this very small niche of the world is really odd. But Harold, great question. Are there any other jail envelopes of the period extant? Perhaps the handwriting can be matched. One of the first things I thought when I saw these images was, first off, that's him. That's Billy. Second off was, there's no way Silver City had envelopes like that in 1875. And so that gave me pause, and it still does. The fact that Silver City in 1875 would have printed stationery with the sheriff's individual name on it, and would even fool with a prisoner property envelope. At this time, did a frontier town that has just been around for about 5 years have such sophisticated stationery and envelopes to fool with prisoner property in a jail that just had a few cells, if more than one? So uh, that needs looking into, and it has been near impossible to find any documentation from that time. There's been a few things, but it neither confirms nor rules out the existence of that envelope, or uh, whether it's appropriate. And I'll tell you this: the reason why I still allow it a little bit of leniency is because, and I'm not even the sharpest tool in this Billy the Kid shed, but a lot of my hesitation over that envelope is assumption on my part. It's an assumption of mine that a frontier town, a young frontier mining town, would be unsophisticated and fledgling in technology and not have that stuff. But at the same time, I would hate to ruin an investigation or stop it in its tracks, or um, just derail something because I assume that a town did not have uh, such a such an organized system in place, or such an advanced thing. I mean, at the time, didn't they laud themselves for having a advanced jail? Didn't they applaud themselves for being, the most Anglo town in the territory? I mean, there was a lot of that talk. So I have to suspend my assumptions. And uh, the biggest thing about that envelope that gives me pause is that I don't think that they would have had those. It seems very odd to me, but I'm coming at this objectively, and I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt until I can either rule it out or confirm it. Um, so, uh, Paul Murphy asked, could you discuss what historical resources survive in Silver City? Any museums or original buildings? Yeah, so far that I can tell, not much at all. And that's one problem, is that there are so few resources from that time period to even contradict this envelope. It's like a famine of documents and relics from that time. Um, and I could be wrong, but we've done our best in looking for them. I've spoken with the Silver City Museum. I've showed the curator of that museum a fragment of the envelope, and they have nothing to compare it against. Nothing to support it or rule it out. And the curator of the museum agreed with me that it might be a little unlikely, but that's the best they could give, and that's the Silver City Museum. And uh, Amy worked with us and went through the Grant County clerk records and has yet to find anything. I contacted a gentleman who went to some sort of archives down there, and he actually had a favorable opinion of the envelope, and he knew his history, and he was an older gentleman and seemed to be qualified uh, to look for this stuff, and he couldn't find anything. He said that even the envelopes from the early 1900s have been pilfered of their stamps and raided. So um, yeah, it's just that's one of the biggest challenges with this is having anything to compare it for or against. Um, but you know, we'll just keep. We've even looked for envelopes like that in other locations, other jails and things like that. So even if we can establish that it was contemporary somewhere to do that kind of thing. Um, Christina says, as I've said before, the eyes do it for me, but the eyebrows give me pause. What do you think or say about that? Yeah, I mean, if you look at the authentic tintype, his eyebrows seem like thicker and they show up more. But I mean, when you look at it, it kind of just looks like it's not picked up. Like I don't think in the original or in the Silver City tintype, I don't think he just has eyebrows that stop right here. I just think it's not being picked up uh, by the light or whatever. But that's just my take on it. I'm not a tintype expert. um, let's see. The ears give me pause. Yeah, I understand that. I see a lot of people talking about the ears, and this is kind of a new thing for me, the whole ear thing. I don't know when or why it popped up, and I'm not even saying it's wrong. I just know that, like, I don't use it myself to argue for or against anything because I'm not an earlobe expert, and I just don't know how that's done. And I'm not sure. I'm just whether that's a good judge of things or not. I really don't know. Um, Really, I can't speak much to, like, the facial dimensions or this or that. I don't think that's a good way to establish authenticity of a photo. I think, if anything, the envelope is important and the actual writing and stamped information on the photo case. But um, yeah, I don't know about all the facial software and things like that. That's why I've never given much credence to any others. I don't think it's a firm way to establish provenance. Judy Holiday says, "How did the owner get a hold of this picture and envelope?" Well, to be as vague as possible to just respect the privacy, it was acquired, and a lot of people, a lot of historians even they'll look at it and say this was part of the Lang Spragin's collection, and so it's a forgery. And I definitely actually respect that. I understand that. Lang Spraggins was a collector who passed away, I believe, 2007 or so. And he was a long time collector. He had a huge collection and did this for a long time. And towards the end of his life, he was involved with a deal with Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for a museum. and I believe it was Heritage Auctions that vetted some of the items, and uh, I believe nearly all the items that they detected as forgeries came from Lang. And um, I'm not sure that those were the only cases of forgeries that Lang was involved in, but he was known to fabricate items like I think he had a knife that he purported to belong to Richard Brewer. He had pocket watches galore, badges, things like that. Um, and there are a couple angles to this which have caused me to stick with the investigation. Um, one of them, and it's the lesser one, is that I don't know, and maybe someone who's more well versed in this, like maybe Corey Recco or someone like that, he seems to know more about Lang than me. Maybe they can help me or correct me. But I don't think I've ever seen anything that Lang was involved in that forged documents. Lang seemed to be involved with forgeries like the knives, like etchings on knives and etchings on pocket watches, kind of like items that already existed that he could just kind of etch in or engrave. Um, this thing, and I'll read you a quote that I liked from Chris on Facebook. He said, "This is either an elaborate, very well executed hoax, or it's absolutely legit. I strongly believe it's the latter." This is still Chris quoting. "Literally every detail about this find screams that it's real. All the details on the envelope that match the historical record. It's the holy grail I've thought was probably out there just waiting to be found." End quote. So that was all Chris from Facebook. But the first sentence, I agree 100% with. This is either an elaborate, very well executed hoax, or it's absolutely legit. And that's actually a very comforting thing for me because this is not a photo we're looking at where like it has not been put forth as Billy and we're all just kind of wondering and speculating. Like this is a challenge. This is a challenge that has one certain outcome, and that's either that it's an intentional forgery meant to look like it's Billy the Kid, or it is. And so when the outcome like that is certain, the guarantee that we'll get there is a little more certain to me. So yes, getting back to Lang Spraggins, I think yes, it's possible that he forged it. And like Pamela said in a Facebook post, we need to exercise double scrutiny for this. We need to drag these items under a, magnifying glass twice. We need to up our Sherlock game because like this could be huge, but it also could take us for a ride. Um, so we're not coming at this as like, hey, we're already convinced it's the real deal and we're going to do everything we can to kind of make this circle peg go into this square hole. I mean, it's if it's a forgery, we'll find out and we'll be vocal about it. But uh, all that said, I still like to reiterate my opinion that when I see it, when I see that picture, I have that experience of like, oh, this is Billy. Um, and we'll do everything we can to find out what we can about it. But again, I don't know. Looking at that envelope, if that's a forgery, it's an extremely well done forgery. Extremely well done. And that's entirely possible, but I don't know if Lang Spraggins would have been able to do it. So we have to ask ourselves, did he work with other people? Who were those people? That kind of thing. Um, but also, and I said that was the lesser reason. The stronger reason that I still give it some credence is that it bears the testimony of three people who have said that they witnessed Lang Spraggins acquire it from somebody else. So we have to, you know, the question is, do we believe the three people? And that's going to have to be examined. But there is at least that. We have the testimony of three people who say that they witnessed the transaction between a former owner and Lang Spraggins. And this would have been about 2004. So I can't just dismiss those testimonies. and I don't think anybody should. They should be investigated just like anything else. Fred, Honeybee, thank you guys so much. That's just amazing, unbelievable. I don't know what to say to that. Thank you. Um, we've got Colin. Did his other forgeries have any consistency or similarities to this in terms of materials? Not that I know of. As far as I know, they were all watches, uh, metal Marshall badges, knives, metal things, and I'm not aware that he was prolific in document forgeries. That's not to say that he couldn't have worked with someone. We need to look at that. Again, it does give me everything that there are some very vocal critics of this since it's come out. Since it's come out, a lot of people who've been around for a while have posted the images of these items from Lang's original auction catalog. And so a lot of people have known about this and it's been around. Misty says, James, it sounds promising, and provenance is everything. I agree. And that's why we're in this. We believe in doing the work. But I forgot where I was going with that. I'm just reading everybody's comments. But it's about 2004 was the acquisition, and then oh yes, the critics. I mean, people have been posting the catalog, and Corey Recco is a very articulate critic of this photo, and he gives good reasons. Other people, their criticisms are valid, and their objections are objections that we have as well. I think the difference between us and what we've seen up till now is that uh, we just want to carry it until the very end, until we can say for certain whether this is legit or not. I think a lot of people have been dismissing it out of hand just because it belonged to Lang Spragin's collection, and he was a collector. He had authentic items too, and that wasn't his whole life. His forgery stuff he got into apparently later in his life. Um, and I don't know the circumstances around that. So um, it's not enough for me to just dismiss out hand. I saw someone on Facebook say it was part of Spragin's collection. It's a forgery. Case closed. That's not good enough for me. A forger or somebody who's involved in nefarious acquisitions can still get legit things. And this artifact, this envelope and picture, to me, it's too monumental in its possibilities for us to ignore and just dismiss out of hand. In my opinion, it looks just like Billy. It looks exactly like, if I see a picture and I know someone and I see another picture of them, I'm like, oh yeah, that's them. That's the experience I have. So I want to research that. And we do. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong one. Judy said adding the $1 in German coin as part of the items would be something odd to make up. Yes, we do have the German coin as well, and it's a coin that people know a lot about. It's an Austrian coin, actually, and which it says German on the envelope. If you're trying to forge, would you think to say German and not just put Austrian coin? And it's a very easy coin to tell when it was minted, and there are lots of mintings of it. So, if it was minted, say in 1884 or 1900, I mean, they'll be able to tell that when we have it analyzed. It's a very easy coin to date. So why would a forger risk that by throwing another falsifiable item in? But then those are head games questions that you get into, and then you start, you know, just weaving tales around this stuff that you know. Um, Mario, I don't think so. Mario says, could this be a picture of another person that Billy had on him, like a friend? If this is legit, on the inside of the photo, it says Antrim Kid. It may have at one time said Antrim's Kid. I don't see an apostrophe S, but it may be so faded. Um, and the contents of the envelope, it's written or one self likeness or something like that. And so I'm pretty convinced that if it's authentic, it's Billy. Um, the auction catalog was around 2006 or 2007. Lang Spraggins actually died as that was, all coming out. He was about 90 years old. Um, Andrew says James cross-checked the handwriting. Yes, that's something we want to do. I don't know that we for certain have any examples of Harvey Whitehill's handwriting. There are a few things floating around on auction sites that give, well, I think they specifically say his signature. We do have his signature, but I'm not sure we can be 100% certain that it's his handwriting throughout. It may be a copy of a document. And these are just a couple things about jailhouse rules and things like that. So if anybody knows of any uh, observable online fragments of his writing, I'd definitely like to see him. That, of course, is just for my own interest. If anybody knows of any writing of Whitehill's that we can get and have an expert compare, uh, we're definitely interested in moving forward with that. A lot of times it's good to remember, like, none of us are going to be vetting this. We want to facilitate all of these items to get in the hands of people who can actually test this stuff. We intend to have the ink tested, the envelope. We intend to do all these things and to have all these things looked at. I'm waiting for responses from folks right now. Hopefully, we'll get some feedback. Let's see here. Going to scroll through some chats. Yeah, honeybee, that's it. We owe it to the kid. This could be legit. I mean, this could be our chance to see Billy, the one that Paulita talked about. Not that one tintype that everybody said was just a bad day for him. So yeah, Misty, good point. A forger needs legitimate items to copy too. Um, Colin says the finger oil and picture frame transfer stains look really good. I have racked my brain to try to figure out how someone could do it. It's a masterful uh, replication. If it's not authentic, it's extremely well done. So this will be a journey, regardless. Um, but there's a story here, and the story is the original owner, the original person that acquired this before it was sold to Lang Spraggins. There was an owner whose sorry. There was an owner whose grandfather took this from the Grant County property room. That's the story. That's the source story. We cannot vet it. We cannot authenticate that yet. We don't know. We don't have the particulars, but that's apparently what Lang was told. So that's, if it is not a forgery, then it was most likely retrieved from the Grant County property room. Was there a Grant County property room? Were these things stored there? Yes, Natalie, you're correct. That's what it is. Thank you, Colby Jack. It says, James, I trust your judgment. The picture sure looks like him. Again, I'm in no way saying it is certainly Billy, and I don't want you to believe it's Billy just because I say I think it is. I guarantee you we will work to authenticate it or rule it out. And we will deliver our findings to you. But please don't think that I'm peddling this as an authentic photo of Billy. I'm telling you that in our process, I lean towards it being authentic, and he looks like him to me. But that's as far as I could go. And, I don't have a historian degree or a photo analysis degree or anything like that. So it's just a feeling. And I love feelings. I love speculations. We just got to keep them divided between that and, documentation, history, and provenance. And so, hey, DB says maybe the coin was part of the laundry theft. And I like to think that Billy and those nice duds is that was the occasion of the picture. Like, "Hey, I'm gonna go get a picture taken with these new shirts I got from Charlie's son." So that's what I like to think. He's got that little, uppity smirk on his face, like, "Hey, aren't my clothes nice?" Mario says, "Did you guys get the ink tested? I know in today's ink it's made different." Yes, we are working on that. That's what something we're gonna do, and you are correct. There are ways to tell if it's, um, authentic to the period, and that'll tell us a lot when we get those results back. Um, yeah, so many cool things. Yeah, Colin, I agree. That's the kind of stuff you get your head around. If it's a real coin, then it could help the validity of a forgery. Yeah, and again, I don't know. Were the forgers smart enough to put old German coin instead of old Austrian coin as a mistake? Probably. Yeah, I mean, if you're smart enough to forge something that looks as good as this, you're smart enough to pull one over on everybody, I guess. Yeah. So thanks, Colleen. I appreciate you. I appreciate your input. Uh, rest in peace, Billy. Um, let's see, Natalie. My theory was that I don't know, I don't want to mispronounce it. The Thaler had been given to Billy by Sombrero Jack to convince him to keep the stolen items. Maybe so. Wouldn't that be something? So he gets this coin in his pocket. He's got some new clothes. He goes, gets his picture taken. He gets arrested. um, I agree. I've noticed that too, Colin. The S is pretty unique there. Um, yeah, there's just so many angles that we need to go on this, and I really do regret it had to come out this way, and I regret how it's ended up with some folks, and I regret that they think that I did this for the wrong reasons. But that's not fixable. Um, so that just leaves me where it is. I stand by what I did, and I would rather have taken that risk and made sure that we were the custodians of this thing, other than someone else who uh, would have mishandled it. And so I do stand by that, even though has not been a fun experience, and it has been a source of continual stress this past week. Andrew says, I do not carry a photograph of myself, so why did Billy, unless Whitehall retrieved it from Billy's boarding house? I just don't know the answer to that question, Andrew. Things were different back then. Photographs are a lot more common today, and actually, I carry about 700 photos of myself on my phone. Um, I don't know. Uh, is that something you did? Did he have a plan to give it to somebody? Had he just had it taken? I have no idea. Um, and that's just one of the mysteries. And maybe we'll answer that question as we progress, or maybe that's one key to it being not authentic. I don't know. Um, yeah, we'll see. Uh, we'll just see where this goes. Cool's Paranormal. To dismiss it based off Spraggins is like telling the students not to study and describe a new species of Allosaurus because Big Al was already on display. Um, I just can't dismiss it just because it was in Spraggin's collection. You know, let's see. Dean says, James, you should have respected the owner's wishes by any means. Hopefully, a lesson is learned off of this. Yeah, Dean, I agree. And I did as far as I could. And I spoke with the owner before I went public with it. And I told the owner why I felt it was necessary. And I guaranteed that I would um, respect their privacy. And it went from there. So I believe that we are square with that. Um, and I stand by that as well. But it was a lesson learned, absolutely. Um, a lesson, I learned quite a few lessons, but if I had to do it over again, I would have done the same thing. So I'm not sure if maybe you think I learned the wrong lesson. I'm not sure. Um, Ghost says perhaps the picture was intended to be a gift for a lady. Maybe so. All kinds of possibilities. That's cool, Paul. That's something to look at. The gold leaf frame can be matched for manufacture date. Excellent. All kinds of angles to approach this that I hope we're able to do. Um, Yeah, DB, if it is an authentic prisoner property envelope, it says at the bottom, "Prisoner fled." And it says prisoner fled in different handwriting than the rest, so that's interesting too. But yeah, maybe it just sat in property rooms for years. Um, and I don't know, Joel, was it typical for a photographer at that time to stamp the inside of a union case with a location and date? We've not been able to rule out or verify any other contemporary sources. Um, so yeah, another issue. Um, Um, Definitely something we've tried to find and so far have been unsuccessful. Uh, yeah, if we can set that up, Daniel, that'd be fantastic. Um, yeah, Cools, I appreciate you saying that, but it does get me down. um, let's see. Photographs were a huge event back in the day. Billy did give it out his pick, the one we know, because he thought it was an awesome thing to give. Um, Yeah, Matt, maybe Billy was tracking his weight loss. Yeah. um, but yeah, I mean, Andrew, I don't know. I don't have any desire really to even wonder about that. But what yes, we plan on leaving no stone unturned. Everybody's doubts and objections about the items we have ourselves, and we echo that uh we echo those doubts and objections, and we will take each one uh, and work each one and see what happens. And we will continue to speak with experts and people who are knowledgeable in the field and do what needs to be done to figure out the answer to this. Because when I look at it, I see Billy, and I want to know for certain. And at the very least, this is a great journey in learning how to, you know, learning how to history. Yeah, it's been terrible, Mario. But we're hanging in there, and we're gonna see it through. Um, Thanks, Joy. Yeah, it has. But you know, I'm committed. I've always been committed to pursuing the truth and to faithfully and honestly do history. And when I felt that it was going the wrong way, I did the best I could in that situation. M That's a good question, Matt. Is there a joy if it turns out to be fake? Just to say "F you, it ain't," and I'm honest? Yes. Any little inkling that I get, any progress, whatever direction it goes in, if we take this to be analyzed and they hand it back and say, "This was definitely done in 1972, and this ink proves it," that's a victory to me, and that will feel good to get an answer, because I am here in this instance and in all instances to get answers. I don't try to take my hopes and my expectations and to force them onto history and onto reality. So any answer that we get it back is an answer, and it will bring me joy. Yeah, but that's my position, at least. I will not be disappointed if it turns out to be a forgery. It's one more thing we can rule out. It's just like anything else that I research. If we're able to mark it off the list, then that just gives us a smaller list to work in the future. And you know, I just stick at it. Yes, Kathy, that's one of my favorite quotes, and I carry it around. Um, yeah, but yeah, this has gone quick. I hope we've been able to talk about it. I'm not saying we won't talk more about it. I just want to continue with the daily doses and you know, the doing of history that outside of photo analysis. And so we presented this, we have got out in front of it, we handled the situation, and the investigation is ongoing. And back to business. We've got a crap ton of exciting things coming up to talk to you guys about, and projects, and research, and it's just going to get funner and funner. So I'm excited about all kinds of things. This picture is just one of them. I'm sorry for how it's come out. I'm sorry for the way it was presented to you. We made the decision the best we could with the information we had, and we have to stand by it. But I do appreciate y'all, and I have, aside from the drama, and Sue, you're right. It seems to get vicious and cutthroat in this world of Billy, but aside from that, it is still one of the biggest things in my life that brings me joy and fulfillment. And for some reason, to get together with all of you and talk about this small niche of history is just a really fun thing, and it gives me a lot of meaning. So um, I'm definitely planning on keep doing it. And contrary to what some folks say, we learn something new every day, and that's a good thing. So yeah, thank you, Christina. We appreciate all of you guys too, and we have a heck of a time doing this and doing it with you. DB, that's awesome. Uh, but yeah, it's been about an hour, so I'll get back to I don't know, taking a nap or something, and we'll give you the rest of your Sunday back. But thanks for listening to me. Thanks for giving me some time to kind of give you some more context. And if you have any questions, yeah, just email me, message me on Facebook, and or ideas about where to go from here with this. Um, get in touch, and we will do our best to either give you a Billy picture or give you a certain fabrication. Um, yeah, excellent, excellent. Research is based on working hypotheses. We are free to disregard them in light of new contradicting evidence. No shame, it's instead fun. That's the core principle of history. You have your hypotheses. If new evidence indicates that that is incorrect, you change it and you go with it. When I first got into this, I really did think Brushy was Billy, as an example. I researched it. I used logic. I looked at evidence, and I came to the conclusion he wasn't. There was no conspiracy involved, no huge thing. It's just you learn and you form your new hypotheses accordingly. And to the people that do think Brushy was Billy, if that changes, if I see evidence that convinces me otherwise, I'll change right back. You do not have dogma in history. You don't have infallible doctrine. You you have evidence and documentation and proof, and you do your best to evaluate those. And yeah, Andrew, as to your remark, I agree, and that's something we're committed to not, Lord, to not be like. Uh, I never want to be like that. So, yeah, I'm not going to post that on the thing. I'm kind of not in the mood to throw any more mud, but um, I never want to be like that, man. I think history. I'm very, just like the hat says, I'm very much into Indiana Jones, and I believe it all belongs in a museum, and that history should be 100% free and open to the public, to anybody willing to learn it. And I would never charge for that kind of thing. But yeah, what a crazy ride. Yeah, BJ, I'm with you. When I first got into the Billy world, BTK was a very odd uh abbreviation for me to get used to. And it's finally like normal for me now, but it took me such a long time to not think of the serial killer every time someone said BTK. And now my email address domain is BTK Coalition, and I'm like, man, anybody that doesn't know is going to think I'm part of some weird fraternal society. Um, but yeah. All right, there, Patrick Henry. Give me a picture or give me death. BJ, I respect that. I don't see it. To me, he looks to be about the age he's purported to be, but it's kind of interesting to see everybody's different take on the picture. And to some folks, he definitely does not look like Billy, and I respect that. Everybody's opinion is just as valid as mine when it comes to that kind of thing. It's all speculation, but hopefully we will find something out, and hopefully it won't be too much longer. But as long as it takes, I'm in it for the long haul. Um, but yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I appreciate all of you. Thanks for the gifts today. That was cool. Um, yeah, I know, Andrew. I know, buddy. You were preaching to the choir. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for being here. And this was a nice chat. Um, we may switch to monthly shows. This coming Sunday, a week from today, is September 1st. So we may kind of do a once a month that's maybe a little longer than an hour, just kind of a however long we want to do it. And then, do some pop up lives if we need to. But that'll allow us to get a bunch of topics into one variety show and have a good time. And that way I won't have to cancel every Sunday if I have a performance or something and leave y'all hanging. So it'll be a little more dependable and a little more routine, I think. So we'll probably do that. But anyway, see you later, regulators. Y'all have a good one. And thank you. Thanks for being here. See ya.